What's up, Facebook Live? Marcus here. What's going on, everybody? Just got back from New York City, Long Island. Did a couple days of traveling. And going to talk about, actually traveled. I was traveling with my son, some baseball games, my son and my wife. And then yesterday I was at an amazing food show in New York City, Chef's Warehouse food show. So if you follow us on Aroma Time, I'm going to talk about one of the ingredients that I bought on one of the upcoming lives, which is going to be coming up probably in half an hour from when this live is done. I'm going to try to sneak that live in. Some really cool products we saw yesterday and some stuff that's already in stock here at the restaurant. So, but this video is on business here on my personal page. Business, how to unlock hidden profits in your restaurant, like this week. Like this stuff works. This stuff is profits that are already in a restaurant that a restaurant just doesn't realize that they're there. So my wife and I coach a lot of restaurant owners. We have written books and we create lots of content and put it on an online learning academy and put up lots of YouTube videos. And I work with a lot of restaurateurs. I talk to a lot of restaurateurs about how to maximize your growth, marketing, profits, things like that. Here's the very first question I ask every restaurant owner that I deal with. Typically the first question I ask every restaurant: do you want to grow your sales, or do you want to decrease your expenses? Do you want to monitor decrease expenses, or do you want to increase your sales? To increase, I feel in most cases, the quickest way to the cash in a restaurant, quickest way to show impact right away, like this week, is by monitoring your costs. And you start with your two biggest costs. Your two biggest costs are going to be labor and cost of goods sold. Those are your two biggest costs. And so, for example, if you're running 30% food cost, let's say 40% food costs, 40% cost of goods sold, that's a total of 80% total of everything you're bringing in, right? So that's your largest expense. And I like to call those two things combined, food costs and labor costs, or cost of goods sold, COGS, and labor, your prime cost. Your prime cost, that number right there is your single biggest expense you'll ever have in the restaurant. And if you can start looking at that number as a whole and diminishing it, you will see instant profits, instantaneous, like money in the bank. So if you're doing $1 million in business and you shave 1% off that overall cost, and do the math, it's very simple. There's a lot of money that's actually going to now be freed up. You save 2%, you save 3%, you save 4%. It's not uncommon for restaurateurs when they first start doing this concept, because a lot of restaurateurs don't monitor their costs. They don't monitor their labor. They just kind of figure out, I've got things figured out and I kind of know where I'm at. They don't do inventory. They don't run reports. They don't understand that kind of stuff. So the numbers are just out there. So the quickest way to do this with the most minimal work is to just start monitoring numbers. So for example, your labor cost is so easy to figure out. Every week you do payroll. Every week you have sales. You take your payroll and divide your sales into it, and all of a sudden come up with a labor cost every single week that is a tangible number right there. Inventory is a bit more difficult because you have to count every item. You have to make sure it's in a computer program and it's updated, and a lot of chefs don't like to do this because it takes a lot of work. But when you understand the power of the profits you can maximize in doing inventory and costing out every single ingredient, costing out every single dish, is astonishing. A lot of chefs have been doing this so long, a lot of restaurant owners have been doing this so long that they think, oh, like I know what this costs. I know it's mahi-mahi, it's salmon, and I know I should be charging this and this and that. But you really honestly don't know to an exact pinpoint of where you should be at. And this is the part, when restaurants start doing this, they start reporting and monitoring numbers, the savings happen instantly. Within a week, you can start understanding your labor costs and start shaving. I've talked to people that have taken their labor down by 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10%, by 10 points in the first week alone, the first month alone, by just monitoring and saying, I'm spending too much on labor. How can I get the job done with the adequate financial labor and the adequate labor to get the job done properly? And just a lot of restaurants just don't understand this concept, and especially on the food costing. So when you combine those two, and I had a conversation this morning with one of our coaching students, and they're like, what if I buy more prepared foods? That's going to increase my food costs. I'm like, yeah, it's going to increase your food costs because you're buying prepared foods, but it's also going to decrease your labor costs because somebody's not there chopping, dicing, peeling, cooking. It's coming in prepared and in the box or in the container or whatever, and it's all done for you. So it's a trade-off. So a lot of restaurateurs just look at their food costs. They're like, I'm making my food costs super, 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 super low. And all of a sudden their labor costs skyrockets and it's still out of proportion. So the idea is that these two, food and labor, cost of goods sold and labor, can balance each other out. And when you combine the two, that's when you get the real number. It's called prime cost. So here's some quick statistics for prime cost. If you're in the restaurant industry or nobody in the restaurant industry, this is an important number to know, super important number to know. Your prime cost should not be over 65%. So for every dollar you put in the register, you should not be spending more than 65 cents out of that dollar on food and labor. And a lot of restaurateurs think that's high, and I kind of think that's high too. I think a lot of restaurateurs, I know a lot of restaurants that have gotten that number down to 60, 55, and even 49. No restaurateur is crushing it, doing 49, 48%. So for every dollar that comes in, 50% goes to that. And that's where you can really 100% maximize all of your profits. When you get those costs down and get those, now that person's working for that. Now this person I think is doing like $2.3 million or something like that. But to have under 50% cost, prime cost is amazing. Now they have to spend money and have people report these numbers. But what it pays you, you have to pay somebody to do inventory. What it's going to cost you to do inventory, you're going to save a lot more on understanding your cost of goods by far. In most cases, that's just what happens. You pay somebody all day long to figure out, calculate inventory. You pay $100, $150, but you're shaving off stuff on the very, very other end of that. That is going to be exponential, and it's amazing. It's totally amazing. So, how to unlock the hidden profits in your restaurant? Start monitoring the two biggest numbers: food costs and labor costs. Labor costs you can do ASAP, like this week. Run the numbers, print them. Show your staff where you're at, and say, "Hey, guys, gals, staff, team. For us to run an efficient ship here to make sure that the restaurant stays open, because a lot of restaurants are on the verge of closing. They're just like hanging on the verge of closing, and they just borrow money after money after money, and they just juggle things. They juggle bills. It's insane what I see some restaurants doing. And my wife and I were in this situation for a while when we opened and stuff. There were things that just, oh my gosh, you take one loan to cover another loan to cover another loan. And there's still certain times of the year, even successful restaurants, successful businesses, especially country clubs will tell you, there's times of the year where you're flat broke, your bank account is empty. Doesn't mean you're not a successful business. Just means your cash flow is low at that time. And then all of a sudden comes the season or the busy time, and all of a sudden it's like winter, it's like the season's outside. You have winter and summer. And all of a sudden you're infiltrated with all this cash, and you can catch up on bills and this and that. Some of the most successful restaurants I know have admitted to me that, Marcus, we have to take loans out in the winter time to cover our expenses. We have to actually take loans out, cover our expenses, cover our payroll to keep everything going. But then come April, May, June, July, August, we've paid back the loans, and gotten caught up and able to get ahead to go into the next winter. And these are restaurants that are showing some profit. So just because you have one bad month, one bad night, one bad week, doesn't mean you're not a profitable restaurant. It just means your cash flow, and it's tough to manage cash flow. That's an art to be able to put money away and manage cash flow. It's a lot easier for most business owners to say, hey, I just need a loan, give me an advance, I'll take a loan. Now, there's a difference when you take loans. When you take loans, a lot of restaurants are subject to this because we have people that call us all day. Like I've gotten literally 3 phone calls this week alone for people to give us loans. And what they do is they say, let me know your credit card sales, and I will take a percentage automatically every night of your credit card sales, which is a great thing because it pays it back instantaneously. And it's a certain percentage, 5%, 10%, depending on how much you take out, 3%. And restaurants fall into this trap constantly. Now, it's a good thing if you're taking the money to actually grow your business, to improve, to buy new ovens, buy equipment, to do that. But if you're taking that money to pay off bills and pay down food expenses, then that's not good purpose of that loan. You should be taking that loan to hire somebody to market your restaurant. You're going to increase your sales so that you can have enough money to increase sales to pay off those other bills that have been lingering around. So that's the idea of taking a good loan. I mean, I love taking a good quality loan out for a restaurant because it's just, you can take that money and you can make more money from it. So, but in the meantime, unlock those 2 most powerful things right now, and that is your food costs and that is your labor costs. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it, and until the next video.